How's it going, guys? Right off the bat, just want to go ahead and apologize for the little bit of truck noise. I did a test, you can kind of hear it a little bit. It's hot. I turned the air down, so hopefully that won't be as much for you, but yeah, it's just not going to happen without running the truck. And two, trying to get this video up a little sooner. I had a hell of a week last week. Had some downtime in the shop for bee service that took like 24 hours, which was not really a huge deal, but just an inconvenience. So that kind of sucked. And then also, got popped for a random drug test. So that kind of took a couple hours one day out, but still ran 3,500 miles for the week total. So that's not too bad. So a couple hiccups, but got it done still. Not the end of the world. But on to the video. I wanted to talk about choosing the company you're going to be working for and how you should go about doing that. For people that are already in the industry, they kind of know what to look for. They kind of know when they call recruiting what question to ask, what they're looking for, what are their red flags, what are they willing and not willing to put up with. But for you newer guys that have no clue what you should be looking for, what are some red flags right off the bat, or the advertising that some of these companies do that doesn't line up with what their actual pay is, or how things are actually going to be once you get in the truck or signed on. Once they got you in that contract, it's a wrap from there. So let's get into that. Probably the most important thing you want to look for is going to be where the terminals for whatever company you're trying to get on at, where are their terminals. That's going to dictate your home time, and that's going to let you know where their freight lines are. So if they have a bunch of terminals Midwest, that's probably going to be where the majority of their stuff. If you look up that company and they got a bunch of stuff all up and down East Coast or West Coast or something, that's where you're going to be spending the majority of your time at. So it's the freight lanes and also your home time, which you're probably going to want to put as one of your priorities. So if you live in Oklahoma and your company has no terminals in Oklahoma, but they're still hiring out of there, yes, they can get you through the house or home, every 2-3 weeks, whatever their policy is, but it's going to be a pain in the ass. And most likely, if you put in for a Friday, you're either going to get home too early on a Wednesday, or on Sunday, a couple days later, it's going to throw off your plans. It's going to make it hard to set up anything to do for your home time. Any appointments, doctors, dinner, whatever you got to do. It's just going to make that stuff a pain in the ass. So try and avoid that. So first, before anything, find if it's near you. Preferably 1 to 2 hours from the house is what I would look for. If you're okay going a little bit further out than that, 3 or 4 hours, but that's a long ways away. But just keep that in mind. So that's going to be your number one thing to look for. Second things, for me, would be pay structure. And you're going to see a lot of different stuff on a lot of companies' websites, backs of trucks, whatever you're looking at, wherever you're doing your research at. They're going to advertise a pay rate, which is either what their experienced drivers are making after 5-10 years. So if they actually start at 42 cents or whatever they're at, I'm just saying 42. I think that's where Millis starts now. I think we're at 42 or 43 for new students, a little bit lower if you take the per diem route, but somewhere around there. So a company like that actually starts at 42 or 43 might be advertising on their website or on their back of their trucks, be like, hey, we pay 52 cents or starting up to 52 cents. What they're doing there, most companies are rolling in all their bonuses, whether it's a fuel bonus, mileage bonus, whether you get your raises for how, if their max they hire at is 6 years experience, that's what you cap out at, that's what they're going to hire at. So look at the base pay for these companies, and then look at the incentives on top of that to how they're getting to that number, because it's most likely not going to be, it's the flashy number they're advertising, the big number they're putting on the trailers is not what your starting pay as someone with no experience is going to come in at. It's just very rarely do they advertise that. So make sure you go to their page, or if you are talking to a recruiter, hey, what's your base pay for somebody starting out, zero experience, fresh out of school or just got their CDL, something like that, and then ask what their incentives are on top of that. Most places are going to either offer a mileage incentive, some type of safety bonus or safety incentive, whether it's per mile or it's a flat, or they do that annually, or however they go about it. But everyone will have a different setup. And just ask if that's rolled into what they're advertising, or if that's all separate in the breakdown. You need to know exactly how you're getting paid before you get into it. Because if you think you're getting 50 cents and turns out you're getting 35s, and then with incentives maybe you make 40, it's just, you're setting yourself up for a bad time. See, you new guys are most likely going to have to go through a school somewhere. You're going to get locked in for a year contract, and that's just, it's not going to work out. Third thing you need to do is figure out what their average miles are for their drivers. Personally, I would look for 3,000. Most companies, I would say, are not going to average that. People aren't going to want to run, or they have a mix of regional drivers, mix of OTR drivers, maybe some day cabs. Like, they can't, the mileage is going to get brought down a little bit. You're going to want to find someone that has the freight that's not going to bullshit you, that can sell you can run 3,000 miles plus a week. That's what you're going to want to look for, because it doesn't matter how good their pay is. If they're paying 70 cents a mile and you can only get 2,000 miles a week, it's not worth a damn. You might as well go somewhere else, take a little bit less pay, get those consistent miles, and that's going to end up making you a hell of a lot more money. Like, I consistently run 3,000, 3,500 almost every week, unless it's a home time, a little bit less on those weeks. But you want to make sure these companies have the freight for you to run, and it's the areas you want to be in, would be the last point. Most of us that have been out here for a little bit know the areas we like to run, the areas we don't like to run, what you want to avoid. And it's not always your choice, especially being a company driver like me. I don't turn down any loads, so I don't have preference. Like, I know where I would like to go, but that may not necessarily be where I end up going to. So keep that into account. What is the area they go? Do they do all 48? Do they only do half? Do they, what's their breakdown? Or are they going through ports all the time? There's certain areas that you may not be okay with, and you may not know you're not okay with them until you end up in those situations. So be aware your first year, first 2 years, whatever it is, while you're getting some experience under your belt before you can really hop around to companies and have some experience to throw around to get hired. You may end up at some of these places that you do not want to be at. But what you can do is ask these companies ahead of time, hey, do you go to any place like this? Hey, do you run a lot of East Coast? Hey, do you guys do New York, Jersey, all that, like stuff you're trying to avoid? If you know ahead of time, okay, that's not going to be for me. Try and get those questions out of the way, because these recruiters will sell you a dream until you start asking questions. And even asking questions, make sure they're the right ones, because they're just salespeople at the end of the day. They're going to talk their way around everything. They're going to try and pitch you, oh, it's not like that, and then once they got you signed, it's fucking out of their hands, man. They're good to go. So make sure you're looking out for you, number one, and make sure you're doing the right thing, and ask around, talk to other drivers if you can. I'm sure there's a bunch of forums, or YouTube's got a lot of people on here from different companies, and Reddit, wherever you go for that kind of information, ask around. Hey, does anyone work there? Do you have relatives that work there? Any kind of prior experience? Like, what's the word out there? And most people will be pretty straightforward to you if they've driven. Just make sure they're not bullshitting you, or they're out of date. Some people say, I worked for that company, it was horrible experience, blah 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 blah, and then turns out they worked there 6 years ago. So that's not really doing anything for you. Make sure it's current, up to date. Catch one of the drivers if you can, but most of the time you're gonna be stuck on forums or reading around, bouncing around, trying to get what information you can. That's about all you can do research wise. Like I said, just try and do your best to look into this stuff. If you're new, most companies are going to put you in that 6 month to 1 year contract. So make sure whatever company you are going to, you feel good about it. You feel like you've done enough research that you'll be okay. You do not want to get stuck out here in these companies, and you find out the guy in the truck parked next to you is making 15 more cents per mile doing your exact same job. So avoid this situation if you can. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments here, and I'll try and reach back out to you as soon as I can. And as always, I'll have Mills Transfers info in the description, and their phone number along with their website if you want to check them out. That's just who I'll be the most knowledgeable for, because I've been here for 4 years. So If you have any questions about them, let me know, or if you have anything else in there or next videos to come. I think I'm gonna do like trucking school versus like third-party places like community college, tech center, stuff like that to get your license and CDL process. So I'll probably do that next, have that up in the next couple of days. But till then, peace out.